Hi, this is Jim Obermeyer again from Christ the Healer Ministries, talking about fear. This is the third part. I wanted to give you a little story today. I rarely talk about such things, but I will never forget that when C-19 started, I was walking through the house at night right after being locked down, and I said, God, what is going on? Do you believe God speaks to us? I believe that He does speak to some of us when we listen. And he said, all the forces of hell have been unleashed. So what is the greatest spirit that was the problem during that time? It was fear. And I remember when I was a very young minister, I was ministering in a place in Sacramento area. And I remember at the end of service, a woman came up for prayer. As often I would invite people forward for prayer. And she said, I had this horrible fear. I wake up in the middle of the night with this fear. It's dread. It's just horrible, oppressing. Well, I didn't realize at the time, I was very young, that it was a spirit, an evil spirit. You want to know how I believe in God, even because of the fact that Satan is real and shows himself. Sometimes he's kind of stupid in that way. So I remember praying for her, and that night I drove 100 miles to a place called Clear Lake, Northern California, to preach. I ministered and preached, and I was on my way home, and I was driving. It was dark, going through the mountains west of Sacramento near Clear Lake, and I remember this horrible feeling of oppression and fear came over me. I'm driving alone, and it's like I thought, what is this? This is terrible. It's horrible. It's something I had never experienced to that time. All of a sudden, I realized when asking God, help me, that it was a spirit of fear. And I took authority over it. Yeah, what do you say? What does that mean? That's praying in the name of Jesus, the most powerful name. Satan's afraid of that name. He hates that name because it makes him leave. And I commanded it to go in the name of Jesus, and it lifted, it left. Later, I don't remember if it was that week or the next week, I talked to that same lady that had that terrible problem with fear. And she said, you know, that's what happened to me. And she described it exactly the way I experienced it. That evil spirit had followed me 100 miles and tried to attack me. God showed me how to get rid of it. How can you get rid of your fear, your dread, whatever it might be causing it in your life? Take authority in the name of Jesus. If you're not a Christian, you don't know what I'm talking about. So become a Christian and say, Jesus, come into my heart, forgive my sins. And then Jesus, forgive me and set me free.